Morning, members. Happy New Year. Can I please remind you to ensure that your mobile phones and other devices are on silent, that banners, etc., are not permitted, and members of the public are not allowed to address the meeting, to use the microphones which are available when addressing the meeting, and that you may be filmed or recorded during the meeting. Thank you very much. Please be standing for the chairman.
Francis Finn to say prayer, please.
Yes, thank you. Morning, everyone. Hope you're beginning to defrost. Let's just take a moment to pray. Lord, thank you for this warm room and for the opportunity to make a difference to our brilliant county today. At the beginning of a busy schedule, we just take a few moments to be quiet and to be mindful of the privilege that it is to serve others in this way, and therefore to serve you, Lord. There's a great bit in the Bible where it says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Well, Lord, we know we have our faults. So thank you that you are there to guide, to inspire, and to give us wisdom. We need that today. And so we pray for children in care right now. Help us to protect and empower them. We think about our local economy, those who are struggling. Help us to help those who need it. And finally, we're sad to lose two former councillors, Sue Heathfield and Alan Haynes. Thank you for their service and their commitment. Bless their families as they grieve. So be here today, Lord. Help us be patient and gracious and concise and efficient. In Jesus' name, amen.
Sorry, in memory of the two councillors, Sue Hatfield and Albert Hayes, who have passed away since our last meeting. Thank you. Thank you, members. Please be seated. Thank you, members. Allowing us for approval of the minutes of the last meeting. All those who agreed I should sign the minute book. All those in favour? That's very unanimous. Thank you very much. Are there any apologies for absence, please? Councillor Barnfather.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have apologies from Councillor Sinead Anderson for medical reasons and for Councillor Mike Introna, who is away on other county council business. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have apologies from Councillor Pauline Allen, who is poorly at the moment, and also apologies from Constable Fielding, who's got personal family reasons, and late arrival from Councillor Anne Callahan. She'll be in just before lunch today.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Councillor Deacon.
Thank you, Chair. I have no apologies, but I do have two members running late today with medical appointments. That's Councillor Williamson and Councillor Hollis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has either a disclosable pecuniary interest or a private interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare. When called to speak, you should state whether it's a disclosable pecuniary interest or private interest and give brief details. No declarations? Thank you. Okay, Chairman's business. There are no awards to be presented today, but former county councillors Sue Hatfield, Neil Ralston and Albert Hames, we have received the sad news of their deaths, of these two former councillors. And Albert Hayes represented Mansfield South from 2005 to 2009, and Sue Heathfield represented Worksop South and Welbeck from 1985 to 1989. Sometime before, I now invite any members who would like to say a few words on behalf of these councillors. Councillor Foy. Oh, sorry.
Is that the right one? Yeah, sorry, okay. Forgotten, it's been a while. Okay, yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I didn't know either of these members, but my kind friend next to me, Councillor Guilfoyle, has given me some words about Sue Ralston as she was then. So, as you just said, Chair, Sue was a Labour member of the County Council from 1985 to 1989 for Worksop South. She was very active in her local community, and particularly on women's issues, and was involved in delivering the groundbreaking women training centres, which the County Council pioneered. I don't remember those. Great initiative. She was also a planning officer at Bassetlaw District Council until leaving the County Council, and then appointed as a government planning inspector until she retired. She married the late Peter Heathfield, the former General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers, and gained a family who miss her dearly, and we really do send condolences to her friends and her family. And Glyn tells me a celebration of her life will take place at Aston Hall Hotel, Worksop Road, Sheffield, on Wednesday, the 25th of January. So, as I said, condolences about for Sue on behalf of the Labour Group. Condolences to about the sad passing of Albert Haynes. My colleague Paul Henshaw is going to say a few words about Albert, who actually did know him. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Chairman. Like Councillor Fole, I don't know any of these councillors personally, unfortunately. In fact, Sue Ralston, Sue Heathfield was I can remember here before I was born, which speaks all sorts of things. But I do think it's really important that we all come together and recognise the contribution of all of those who choose to serve our communities. We all know how much time and energy and effort goes into doing that for the areas that we represent. So unfortunately I don't have personal experiences of either of these councillors, but I just wanted to put on record this morning on behalf of the administration our thanks for the work that they've done within those communities and for our county, and also our condolences to their friends and family in what is a very sad and difficult time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Henshaw.
Thanks, Chair. I was going to say it's a pleasure, but it's not really a pleasure to have to recall the commitment and life of people that have served this authority. I knew Albert for many, many years. Albert was a fellow trade unionist, staunch member of the GMB, member of Mansfield Constituency Labour Party. He was always around and always there. I first met him, I was elected to Mansfield District Council in 1980, which is a long time before Ben were born. And Albert came on a few years later, and he immediately made his mark serving on committees and working in the local community. He was a fantastic communicator, and he worked well with people in his Mansfield District Council division. He always had time for people. He gave, if you met him outside and he liked a pint, I'll say that. He used to frequent the old Labour Club in Mansfield, the Gasboard Social Club, and latterly at the Linden Social Club. And it was always seemed to be at the bar, but he had that sort of rotund, jovial outlook on life, and he always had enough time for you. If I went in and he'd say, "How's Lynn? How's Charlotte doing?" And he always cared about others. His good services were recognised, and then he was elected as the chairman or chair of Mansfield District Council, which before we had an executive mayor, the chair of council was the first citizen of the town, and he took great pride in that role. Together with his wife, they enjoyed many visits to places in and around Mansfield and District, communicating and talking to people, particularly to children. He used to like talking to children about his time as a firefighter. So as things developed, he then offered himself up to serve on this authority, and as you quite rightly say, he was elected in 2005, as I was, for my first period here, and he was committed to the council. He served diligently and well on the committees that he put on. He also was one of the deputy whips of the Labour group, and you could always rely on him to guide you and point you in the right direction if there was a particular vote coming up that was particularly contentious. He was a great fella. I remember one story when we were out campaigning and canvassing, and we went down one of the, I forget exactly where it was, and we went down together and knocked on the door, and as you do, you stand back just in case the door opened, and the fella gave us an amount of abuse and a tirade of "get off my land," the usual things that anybody that knocks on doors gets sometimes. And the door slammed in our face, and as we walked down the path, Albert said to me, "I think we can put that one down as a don't know, and he may be worth a visit later." So that was the sort of chap he was, and unbelievable. And things that we say in this chamber sometimes will be lost and forgot, but the things that we do outside in the communities, I think, will be remembered. And I think the things that Albert did in and around Mansfield and the communities that he served will be remembered. I'd just like to pass on my condolences to the family, and hope they can get through things. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our deepest condolences go to the families of Sue Heathfield and Albert Haynes. I wasn't lucky enough to have met Sue, but I did meet Albert on numerous occasions while I was a child, while my father was the Deputy Mayor for Mansfield. And as Paul said, he always took the time to speak to you, whether you're a little child, whether you're an adult or anything like that. He always went that extra mile to make you feel included. He worked tirelessly for his residents, and it was a pleasure to have had the opportunity to get to know Albert during my brief times as a young child. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Camilleri.
Yes, I know Albert for probably 25 years, and he was quite a character. He had a really strong, booming voice, and he was always good. He was a good councillor, and he was very, very interested in the twinning. We have a big twinning association in Mansfield with Heiligenhaus in Germany, and I remember him. I think you say what he liked to drink. Yeah, that's probably a bit of an understatement. He loved to drink, and but he was always a good chap, always nice to be around, and people like that, they're hard to find. He was a good councillor for 20 years, served Labour Party 25, 30 years, and it's a sad loss to Jeanette and the family, and my condolences go out to her, and it's a very sad time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Camilleri. Any other? If not, thank you. Right, I will just give a quick brief of the update of the things I have attended, or some of the things I've attended since the last council meeting. I had much pleasure in attending many meetings and concerts and services over the Christmas period, as has been since the last meeting. including the Christmas light switch on here at County Hall with the Greythorpe School Choir singing some lovely carols outside. And thank you for Gordon for organising that for us. It was a lovely evening. I had a very successful cheese and wine at my home, which raised funds for my chosen good cause for this year. So I'd like to thank all the people who came along and supported that. And I think everybody had a thoroughly enjoyable evening. We had a Christmas carol service at St Nick's in Nottingham, which was a lovely event. Enjoyed by all those who attended, and a big thank you to my chaplain Francis, who had to dash off today, for organising this, and also the people at St Nick's School and conducting such a lovely service of readings and carols. And we were able to present another cheque for £5,000 to the Ukrainian refugee, which is my good cause. So that's 10,000 so far we've been able to present to them this year. And again, a big thank you to everybody who helped support my chosen cause. The council's Christmas raffle raised £1,921. So a really big thank you to all members and staff for taking part and supporting that, and also to Laura and to Sarah for arranging all the prizes and getting everything in place to put together on that one. So again, a really good sum, which will go forward to my good cause. But I think the highlight was when I hosted the Christmas party for the children of the Ukrainian refugees, families living in Nottingham. I had a party at the Civic Suite just before Christmas. We played party games, sang Christmas carols and some Ukrainian Christmas carols in what was a lovely evening, and I hope brought some joy to the children at this sad time. And I think Sarah vouched it was a lovely evening, wasn't it, Sarah? Everybody enjoyed it. I also managed to get away to find a bit of sun in Jamaica during the Christmas period. And I also like to thank Council Henry, who was there out with his family during the same time, and his wife Verna, for taking me and Jilly out up the hills to see a bit of the proper Jamaica and his family home, which was really, really enjoyable to see a little bit of the real Jamaica, not just the sunshine of the beach. Yeah, man? Yeah, man. Yes. He speaks a completely different language when he's in Jamaica. I'll tell you that now. Yes. But thank you, Henry. It was a lovely, lovely day. And having said that, I think you've all been participating in today's raffle, and there is a Jamaican T-shirt there in the prizes for somebody to win as well. So thank you for all that support. I am arranging a Sunday lunch on the 26th of March at the County Showground in Newark. The £35 a ticket. It's a free course roast beef Sunday lunch with some entertainment from some Cossack dancers and also the Ukrainian choirs singing. And I think Phil's going to be there as well. So please come and support it. Tables of 10. I'd love to see each individual group get a table up, if not 2 tables up. It's a real nice family day out. Just enjoy Sunday afternoon, Sunday lunch, and put some money in the pot for a very good cause, which I'm doing for this year. So tables of 10 or come division, we'll find you something to sit with. And also, lastly, Veolia are giving 10p. If everybody goes on My Not app and checks what you recycle, Veolia will give 10p to my good cause during the month of January. So if everybody get their smartphones out, go on that app and check what you recycle and just put something in with your postcode. That will add 10p to my pot for the charity this year. So thanks very much, everybody, for all your support in the things that I'm doing. And we'll carry on with the council meeting now. Sorry, lunch will be approximately 12:30. And I will say, in his role as mental health champion, Councillor Carlton has arranged for a stand in the Assembly Hall at lunchtime today to provide members with some suicide prevention information, which you all may find useful in supporting your constituents. Please remember to stop by and see them on your way to lunch. This is very important information, and I thank Councillor Carlton for organising this. Agenda item 5, constituency issues. This item gives members who have previously given notice by the deadline the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes on any particular matter relevant to their constituencies or any particular issue arising in their electoral division. which is relevant to the services provided by the County Council. It's an opportunity simply to air these issues in the council meeting. It will not give rise to a debate on the issue or a question and answer session. I must remind members there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item on the agenda, and each member may only speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Any speeches not heard near the time limit will fall and can be submitted again at a future meeting. We have 17 speeches today. The first one I call upon is Councillor Jason Sarodny regarding roads and pavements in the Ashfield division.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak on the most pressing issue in my division at the moment as it pertains to County Council services. The very poor state of roads and pavements in my Ashfields division is causing anger and misery to residents who are seeing the dangerous state of our roads, damaging their cars and causing hazardous driving from those trying to avoid potholes. Here are the list of roads or pavements in my division that I have requested to be inspected for safety issues and to be considered for proper repair. At Garth Avenue, Highland Drive, Hillsborough Avenue, Hillsborough Way, Kirkby Road, Longwood Drive, Netherfield Grange, Oakfield Avenue, Pemberley Chase, Rosings Court, The Avenue, Caledine Close, Caledine Grove, Castlewood Grove, Crowtrees Drive, Greentrees Court, Longwood Drive, Linton Drive, Roots Close, The Dumbles, Woodlands Way, Hillsborough Avenue, Alfreton Road, Cuttings Avenue, Fountainhall Drive, Frederick Street, Henning Lane, Mapplewells Crescent, Mapplewells Road, Rookery Lane, Rowsley Court, St Mark's Court, Blueberry Croft, Field View, Hedgerow Close, Oakleaf Crescent, Primrose Way, Sunnycroft, Catherine Close, Birkdale Drive, Jacqueline Court, Kingswood Drive, Lindrick Road, Minster Close, Pierpoint Place, Rowood Close, Bamber Close, Beechwood Road, Belfry Close, Bluebell Grove, Bracken Close, Burnside Close, Carnoustie Close, Charters Close, Fairways Drive, Glen Eagles Drive, Grangewood Court, Grattan Court, Heather Close, Heathfield Court, Hickory Close, Hollingwell Close, Holmwood Drive, Lindrick Road, Lytham Road, Murfield Close, Orchid Close, Primrose Close, Revel Court, Sandwich Close, St Melian Way, Summerfield Road, Sunningdale Close, Turnberry Avenue, Wentworth Road, Woodall Close, Carr Grove, Castle Hill Close, Doles Lane, Franderground Drive, George Street, Kirkby Mill View, Meadow Farm Road, The Ropeway, Sutton Road, Ash Crescent, Borders Avenue, Cherry Avenue, Doles Lane, Field Place, Frederick Avenue, Kingsmill Road West, Langton Avenue, Linden Grove, Pinkston Lane, Raymond Close, Searwood Avenue, Shelford Avenue, Sutton Road, Wickerwood Drive, Ashwood Close, Ashwood Grove, Bank Avenue, Corrine Avenue, Coronation Street, Cowpasture Lane, Craster Street, Hardwick Lane, Henry Street, High Pavement, Kirkby Road, Leopold Street, Martin Avenue, Millcroft, Nesbitt Street, Prospect Place, Sherwood Road, Silk Street, Stewart Street, Twitchell, Thornton Road, Tudor Street, Wildmill Close, Windrush Close, Coburn Street, Barnes Crescent, Clare Road, Collins Avenue, Elderfield Drive, James William Turner Avenue, Jepson Road, Lansbury Road, Leamington Drive, Limb Close, Spa Close, Taylor Crescent, Thompson Crescent, Tom Wass Road and Warnerdine Road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Jodley. Just in the 3 minute time period. It's a good job with no more roads in Ashfield, yeah. Councillor David Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy New Year to you. Similar to my colleague, I refer to the list of roads and pavements in the Selston division that require immediate repairs. Selston Road, Brinsley Hill, Barrows Hill, Flats Lane, Main Road, Westwood, Lower Bagthorpe, Alpter Road, Desborough Road, Hallen Stubbing Road, Nottingham Road, Park Lane, Ansley Lane, Alberta Avenue, Mansfield Road, Peach Avenue, Stoney Lane, Hollands Crescent, Upper Mexborough, Station Road, New Selston, which is in a dire state, Main Road, Underwood, Westbourne Avenue, Belly Lanes, North and South, Maid Marion Close, and Plainspot Road. And I will gladly forward the list to the Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Darby.
Thank you, Chair. I too would like to read a list of roads that are affected in my area. Alexander Avenue, Apple Close, Edward Germain Drive, Fleming Drive, Allywell Close, Hatchett's Lane, Pope John Way, Markham Avenue, Merrin Avenue, Crowes Lane, Robert Jukeson, Stephen Road, Winthorpe Road, Worsley Road, Bailey Way, Barrows Drive, Strawberry Lane, Cedar Avenue, Chestnut Avenue, Clark's Lane, Clifton Crescent, Derwent Way, Edamina Avenue, Farmers Walk, Fenton Close, Gainsborough Drive, Hollies Avenue, York Drive, Lincoln Road, Linseed Avenue, Maple Leaf Court, Mulberry, Middleton Road, Moundy Place, Norman Avenue, Park Crescent, Pembroke Crescent, Pine Close, Pippin Court, Primrose Avenue, Rosewood Close, Stanley Avenue, Stanley Street, Strawberry Hall Lane, Stukely Court, Terry Avenue, Trent Way, Well End Road, Winthorpe Road, Whittam Close. I too will forward on the list to you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Derby. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Chairman. I echo my colleagues' sentiments, and I'd like to report my roads as well. I have a list of 10 pages, so I'm going to read you out page 1, and I will forward you the remainder so my colleagues can also do similar. So I've got Albert Street, Annesley Road, Baker Street, Baker Gate, Beach Avenue, Broxtree Avenue, Brick Street, Charles Court, Charles Street, Church Drive, Derbyshire Lane, Dexter Grove, Fitzgerald Court, Garden Road, Gardeners Close, Hawthorne Avenue, High Street, Kestrel Road, Ladycroft Avenue, Wood Lane, Linnet Way, Moss Road, Monks Avenue, North Hill Avenue, North Hill Crescent, Ogle Street, Park Avenue, Park Road, Plum Road, Portland Gardens, Portland Park Close, Roberts Lane, Rosedale Gardens, Rydal Drive, St Patrick's Road, Sandy Lane, Spring Street, Station Road, Sunway Road, Turner Street, Watnall Road, West Street, West Terrace. I'll pass on to my next colleague and I'll send you the list of my 10 pages. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walters. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also echo my colleagues' dismay at the state of the highways and the footways in Ashfield. I want to highlight Claremont Avenue, Florence Street, Occupation Road. I also have 10 pages. I want to highlight Knoll Avenue, which is a major concern, Norman Drive, Ruffs Drive, and Watnall Road. I also want to emphasise on Watnall Road, anyone who lives in Hucknall in the last 3, 4, 5 weeks has noticed how bad the state of the road is between Watnall Road and Long Lane. It has been flooded numerous times. It is a danger. It's 50 miles an hour. It is unlit. It's on tight bends. You approach that from the motorway bridge at 50 miles an hour, you will hit standing water and someone is going to get seriously hurt. I have absolutely no doubt that that is the case that's going to happen. The reason is the road is lower than the land at either side of the road. So what you do find is the wash off from the fields affects the road surface. It has taken out the footways on both sides because drivers have avoided that pool of water because they were driving on the footway. It has now totally destroyed the footway. I understand work is going to be taking place on that, but the danger still remains when it rains again and floods out there. There is a gully that runs under the road, and that needs to be addressed immediately. Also, there are people who are stuck in their houses on Watnall Road because of the flooding. Chair, I will send you the rest of this list, but my main concern is that particular pair, and I cannot emphasise how strongly I feel. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Wilmot.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As the same as my colleagues, I'm very concerned about the conditions of the roads and pavements in the whole of Ashfield because of the work that I do. I do get around the whole of Ashfield and even some of the roads in Nottinghamshire. It's absolutely outstanding how poorly they've been the condition of them at the present time. A few of my roads, as I say, that need urgent inspecting and urgent repairs are Annesley Road, Barbara Square, Beardsmore Grove, Oates Avenue, Eric Avenue, Knightsbridge Gardens, Phyllis Close, Quarrydale, Ward Avenue, Wiggy Road, Addison Drive, Allen Street, Annesley Road, Belvoy Street, Bencorn Road, and I could go on forever. But I will be sending this report that I've done on my roads to the VIA team. I know that they're trying the best, but as I say, the state of the roads is unacceptable. Thank you.
Point of order, Chair. Point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you be able to indicate to the council the way in which questions are selected for discussion at the constituency speeches are then brought to us, just for our interest? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. It is purely on the time that they're presented to the officers, and that's how they're done. There's no selection. It's just yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. I would like the cabinet member for broken roads and pavements to really listen to my list. Cocker House Road, Dorothy Avenue, Estwick Avenue, Garden Road, Green Hills Road, Hall Park Drive, Low Bovell, Mansfield Road, Metcalfe Road, Mill Road, Moorfields Avenue, Alston Close, Brandywine Gardens, Bosworth Drive, Brookside, Brunel Avenue, Coach Drive, Dickens Court, Engine Lane, Friar Road, Hackworth Close, Lindley Street, Lower Bovell, Mansfield Road, Meadow Close, Nether Close, Park Crescent, Roby Drive, Telford Drive, Thorntree Gardens, Thorpe Road, Barber Street, Bovell Rise, Charles Avenue, Comet Drive, Dovecote Road, Edward Road, Fairdale Drive, Hilltop Rise, Kirby Close, Kirby Road, Lincroft, Lawrence Mews, Mary Road, Misk View, Nottingham Road, Percy Street, Scargill Avenue, Selby Road, Springfield Avenue, Stones Close, The Crescent, The Nurseries, Three Tons Road, Vale Close, Walker Street, Wheeler Avenue, Whitby Road, Wharton Court, Brickyard Cottages, Castle Street, Chewton Avenue, Chewton Street, Commons Close, Cross Street, Cultivation Road, Daisy Road Farm, Dawson Close, Fleetway Close, Grey Street, Halls Lane, Harvest Road, Manor Road, Keeling Close, Linwood Crescent, Minster Gardens, Morell Close, Newthorpe Common, Old Kill Lane, Orchard Street, Phillip Avenue, Plumtree Close, Plumtree Gardens, Plumtree Way, Queens Road South, may I add, one of the worst roads in the country. Robin Hood Close, Rockley Avenue, Seymour Road, The Island, Violet Avenue, Albert Street, Ambleside Drive, Coppice Drive, Derby Road, Grosvenor Road, and may the cabinet member for broken roads and pavements have something to say about that.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Helen Allen Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't read every street out, but I'll just read the worst ones in my division. Mr. Chairman, Beechdale Avenue, Beechdale Crescent, Dales Avenue, Deepdale Gardens, Deepdale Street, Farndale Close, Farndale Road, Quarrydale Avenue, Quarrydale Drive, Quarrydale Road, Stoneford Road, Whitehead Lane, Welbeck Close, Albert Street, Alexandra Terrace, Bainbridge Terrace, Brand Lane, Briar Close, Bridal Close, Clumber Crescent, Cooperative Street, Cochrane Terrace, The Copse, Cottage Close, The Croft, Cross Row, Fackley Road, Fackley Way, Gardenia Terrace, Gilcroft Street, Greenacre, Greendale Close, Hall Street, Harton Close, Hawthorne Close, Herrids View, High Street, Institute Street, Limetree Avenue, Mansfield Road, Marshall Terrace, Meaden Bank, Morley Street, New Lane, The Paddock, Pasture Close, Springwood Terrace, Stoneford, Thurlesby Crescent, Victoria Street, Welbeck Square, West Hill. Mr. Chairman, I'll happily send this list with additions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Deakin.
Thank you, Chair, and the same again. So I've got Dalestorff Street, Mansfield Road, Redcliffe Street, Skegby Road, Stonyford Road, Alexander Avenue, Bath Street, Bayton Street, Bishop Street, Cavendish Avenue, Devonshire Square, Downing Street, Edward Avenue, Edwin Street, Langford Street, Lime Avenue, Low Street, Market Street, Morley Street, North Street, Northern View, Outram Street, Park Street, Precinct Road, Woseley Court, and York Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deaking. Unfortunately, that's come to the end of the 15-minute period now. Thank members. Thank you. I'm sure all members have actually got real issues with potholes and roads within their constituencies and regions. The present weather hasn't helped at all with our roads, and I'm sure we're doing as much as we can to get them repaired. But I must say, actually, my A to Z of Nottingham has been greatly improved this morning. But thank you very much. Thank you, members. Okay. Presentation of petitions. I've been notified of 3 petitions by the deadline. May I remind members there is 1 minute time limit for the presentation of each petition, and there is a maximum limit of 50 minutes for this item. The first petition is Councillor Debbie Darby.
Thank you, Chair. Can I present over 100 signatures on behalf of residents in Newark, including popular local campaigner Councillor Jill Dawn, to ask the County Council to deal with the protruding tree roots and the repair of pavements on Worsley Road, Newark?
Councillor Penny Gowland regarding matchday parking in West Bridgeford.
Thank you. I raised this as a question at the last full council. I'm disappointed nothing's happened since, as far as I understand. As I previously said, I've not been a football fan all my life so far, but this year I've become a firm fan of Nottingham Forest Football Club. I'm amazed to find out I know who scored the goals and where they are in the league. And I want everybody in West Bridgeford to be able to share in the excitement of the home games. But the truth is that some people have to dread the games. I've had complaints from bus companies about the lack of marshalling of pedestrians on the bridge. I've had complaints from taxi drivers about the fact that they're getting threatened by both residents and customers. And of course, the buses and the drivers and the cars and everybody is brought to a standstill. This is a petition signed by 233 people who ask the council, the police, and the football club to work together to try and better manage the transport in the area during home matches.
Councillor Michael Payne, resurfacing of Nottingham Road on High Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The competition for the worst road in Arnold and Gedling is a close run thing between Westdale Lane, Nottingham Road and High Street, Stoke Lane, Shearing Hill and Arnold Lane through Gedling Village, all of which need urgent resurfacing. They cannot afford to wait another few years. I have here a petition, Mr. Chairman, from 481 residents of Arnold and surrounding communities who would like to see Nottingham Road and High Street, which is a main arterial route for Arnold town centre and a major bus route, subject to a high volume of traffic, urgently resurfaced. It cannot afford to wait another year for the capital programme to roll forward. Anybody driving down that road is swerving to avoid not just potholes but craters. It has been revisited several times. I can well remember in the last election in my division, councillors sat opposite, going around putting leaflets through saying under a Tory administration, you'll see more money spent on the roads than you've ever seen and we'll solve the problem. It hasn't happened, Mr. Chairman. It's time they took action.
Thank you, members. I ask to resolve that petitions be referred to the appropriate cabinet member for consideration. A report will be brought back to the council in due course in accordance with standing orders. Response to petitions presented to the chairman of the county council. I move that the contents of the report and that the actions approved to be noted. And is that agreed? Please show. All those in favour? Okay, I think that's very unanimous. Agenda item 7. Draft Nottinghamshire Visitor Economy Strategy. I would like to call upon Councillor Keith Girling, who will move the recommendation in this report.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a bit of a panic then. I thought I'd left the document, the paper in the office. Right, Chairman, I have pleasure in introducing this discussion report on the Visitor Economy Strategy. I ask the Council notes the contents of the draft strategy and provide feedback on its contents. The 6 themes and the 5 priority areas of work are set out in the report. Pre-pandemic, the visitor economy was one of the UK's largest and fastest growing industries, generating £106 billion GDP a year. It employed over 2 million people and supported thousands of businesses. In light of this, the County Council produced its first ever visitor economy strategy in 2018. The strategy was about delivering 5 years of change for tourism in Nottinghamshire with an eye on the longer term opportunities. This strategy was largely focused on county council assets and what it could influence as a landowner. However, the pandemic has seen significant shift in the ways people wish to spend their leisure time, and it is important that we reflect these behavioural changes in our long-term plans. I therefore instructed my team to update and refresh the visitor economy strategy with the intention that it will evolve in the responses to changing circumstances and would allow us to continue to draw on the expertise and knowledge available in our region. As I am sure you will all agree, it is fundamental that we continue to build a visitor economy that is resilient, sustainable and agile to be able to respond to opportunities and challenges that may arise from changing market demands. I am pleased to be able to say that the draft strategy in front of you today has been subject to significant consultation and has been prepared in partnership and through a series of engagement events. Officers attended over 30 stakeholder meetings, reaching a wide range of partners, including our colleagues in the districts and boroughs, business industry forums and marketing investment groups. I'd like to thank all our district and borough colleagues for their input into the strategy. Ashfield helped us with the re-evaluation and explained the roles that various organisations play within the Nottingham visitor economy landscape. Their key assets such as Kingsmill Reservoir, Sherwood Observatory and the Lord Byron and Ada Lovelace stories are all subjects that will be realised in the near future with support from the county as required. Roxo colleagues have shared their ambitions for the visitor economy through projects concerning Bennerley Viaduct, DH Lawrence and cycling and walking. We are beginning to collaborate on sharing key visitor data. Bassett Law, thank you very much. Bassett Law have worked with the County Council on contributing to the strategy, but more recently on the Mayflower Pilgrims project. Many of the pilgrims were originally from Nottinghamshire, and it was these brave souls who in 1620 sailed to the Mayflower ship that established an economy in Plymouth, Massachusetts, that would lay the foundation for the modern America. Mansfield, thank you very much. Were able to provide valuable insight and the historical background of visitor economy in Nottinghamshire, having knowledge staff who have previously worked on tourism and visitor economy projects across the county. We are working together on securing baseline visitor data. The Destination Mansfield work on branding and an events programme will be important in establishing the area as a place to visit and to be proud of.
Newark and Sherwood. Our colleagues at Newark and Sherwood have contributed their thoughts and communicated their priorities to us with regard to the strategy. We are working together closely in partnership in establishing a good baseline level of STEAM, visitor data, and remain firm in collaborating with them on projects such as the Sherwood Forest Corner Master Plan. Rushcliffe, thank you. Our colleagues in Rushcliffe who supported us to single out sports as a theme for our county's visitor economy by highlighting the importance of sport as a spectacle, particularly Notts County, obviously. For example, Notts County, doing really well in the league, just in case you're not quite sure. Yeah, not quite sure. Anyway, moving swiftly on. When you're a magpie, you're a magpie. Isn't that right, Eric? For example, recently Rushcliffe organised the start of the Tour of Britain cycling race on which we worked in collaboration. In total, the race brought 4.3 million into the Nottinghamshire economy. There was also an online survey for members of which the public and businesses to have their say, which helped us reach those not included within the engagement events. Following this substantial feedback, we have revised the strategy, which is now presented to you today. This strategy will also be reviewed by the Place Scrutiny Panel in the forthcoming weeks to help inform the report, and I'll receive this and its recommendations. This is not just going to be a shiny document sitting on a shelf. There will be an action plan that sits under the strategy, which will also be prepared to set out how the priority areas identified in the report will be delivered. Nottinghamshire has a great natural capital, inspiring stories and heritage with wide appeal. This strategy is the first step in converting these opportunities into sustainable growth. The strategy focuses on continuing the great work we are already delivering, unlocking previously untapped potential, and engaging regional and national partners to drive our vision forward. In conclusion, the visitor economy strategy will play a key role in ensuring we deliver our council's ambition to make Nottinghamshire somewhere people love to live, work and visit. While we have a great basis, there is more work to be done to re-energise the visitor economy, boost performance and realise potential. This strategy will provide us with the framework to push this forward, to create the conditions where our businesses can thrive and for our visitor numbers to increase and add to our economy. We need a much clearer identity and to create a high profile in the marketplace. This means capitalising and building on our global brand of Robin Hood, our heritage, the fact that we are the home of sport, our culture, local craft and produce. We also need to continue to embrace new digital opportunities and focus on quality experience to ensure Nottinghamshire is competitive in the marketplace. As councillors who know your areas, your input is also valuable, and I'll be happy to take any suggestions and implement them where possible. I'd like to thank Joel Davis and her team for putting this strategy together, and I therefore move the recommendations and welcome your comments and feedback. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. I call upon Councillor Adair to second the motion, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I will second the motion and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adair. I call upon members and then members indicated to speak. Councillor Bradley.
Thanks, Chairman. I just rise very, very briefly just to highlight the fact that I think this is a really positive step forward. I'm grateful to Councillor Girling and colleagues, officers Joel settled there and others who have been part of bringing this forward. And it continues our theme of trying to work more collaboratively with partners in everything, in our service delivery and in strategies across the county and indeed the region. Our previous strategy in this space focused very much on our own assets, our country parks and the things that we manage, and that's all very good and positive, but clearly by working with partners in this space the whole can be much greater than the sum of the parts in that sense. And as I say, that's the theme throughout our council plan, our budget, to try and collaborate more effectively and make sure that we do have a joined up strategy about how we market our assets, about how we draw people into our county across all of those areas, whether that is our natural spaces, our history, our sport, for which we are increasingly benefiting from the other lot that aren't Notts County. Sorry, but we will we build on all of that, and I think that's really, really important. I'm grateful, as I say, that the officers have taken that on board, that approach across all of those different areas of service delivery. We'll touch on later on in today's agenda in terms of questions about how we intend to collaborate and work with partners in other spaces, like our community division, like our children's services and others. And that is the general theme which we want to go forward across absolutely everything. In that spirit, important today, I think that members have the opportunity to see it, to see what's in there, to see the way forward, and ahead of bringing forward that action plan to make sure it's deliverable, to have the opportunity to have that input, and as Councillor Girling says, to put forward ideas and impact on what that action plan looks like. So look forward to hearing from colleagues about that today.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Fole.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Gurley. I agree absolutely. Nottinghamshire needs a high profile and identity. I think we all get very frustrated sometimes when other counties like Yorkshire sort of seem to end up with a high profile and we don't. And I'm also pleased to read at the top of page 8, making it clear that our business are given high quality support, and that's what I want to focus on just now. What I'm asking for, I suppose, in terms in general terms, is please can we broaden this so it actually includes all the kind of small businesses and out there, and it isn't just focused on county council and district council owned properties. Because I think that's a real failing, and I think it's a real missed opportunity. Nobody's mentioned Attenborough Nature Reserve yet, so I thought I would. Okay, so these are concerns. These are specific concerns. Page 8 says that what businesses need to understand who our target markets are and what they're looking for. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And if they're going to get the best out of this, then they absolutely need to do some work on that. But we need to understand them better too and work more directly with them, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. And we really need to listen to them. They are the lifeblood of our economy. And I know from my work as business support officer way back now that many have been working in the market for an awful long time. We need to hear their voice. So having both worked in and with small business, I know that many are visionary entrepreneurs. They're passionate about what they do. And actually, but the thing is, some of them will not have promoting Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest as a priority. That's not what they're there for, and that's not how they kind of see their role. It's not going to necessarily helpful to them. I thought the Dubois report was excellent, and I see that you relied quite heavily on that, and I can see why. It's a good piece of work. No, it's good reading, and this paragraph jumped out at me. The pandemic has led to a huge drop in commercial revenues, but this comes against a backdrop of a decade of funding being withdrawn by the public sector, starting in 2012, when the government somewhat brutally cut loose destination management organisations from core grant funding via the old regional development agencies. It then goes on to say that this had a big negative impact on the sector who've been constantly chasing money to survive and thrive. And anybody, I'm sure a lot of people here are working with kind of heritage organisations, small organisations that have tourism as a priority. They're all desperate for funding, and some of them have actually gone under. So I think we really need to be honest about that and help them. The report then goes on to say that this is a big negative impact on the sector who've been constantly chasing money to survive and thrive. And your administration is very good at describing in glowing terms in the media, I'm sure it's well intentioned, what you plan to do. But as with this report, the detail isn't really there, and that means it's impossible to measure what the real impact is going to be. So I'm very happy, Councillor Gurling, to hear that there's going to be proper measure of outcomes coming soon. So one of my please can we include proper funded business support and finding proper stakeholder events for SMEs to actually get involved in this directly and make their voice heard. As I said, there's good intentions in this and some encouraging words, particularly about better quality support for small business. And so as I've said, we want some real funding for them and the real voice of local business to be heard loud and clear. So, as I said, I'm very glad to hear that we're going to have some measurable outcomes. But if we don't get that, we don't fund it properly, because you did actually publish some measurable actions and expected milestones in 2019. It'd be nice to know kind of how far we've got with some of those. If we don't do that, we don't kind of do this properly with real intent and funding, it will be just hot air. So we're happy to support it, but let's see some action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Powell. Councillor Gowland.
Thank you. Clearly, we need to improve the profile of the East Midlands and Nottinghamshire nationally. Clearly, we need to do this to bring in investment, bring in money through the business economy, to increase investment in the area, and to attract new people here. So I have a suggestion, Councillor Girling. As you pointed out, this area has 3 world famous football sports centres: Forest, County, the cricket ground, and of course we've got the Water Sports Centre. So this iconic building, and many other, I mean here, this iconic building has huge potential as part of the visitor economy. If you have the imagination, the commercial nous to see that, imagine this as a museum of sport, a conference centre and council buildings. It could bring in visitors. We could have archery ground training on the grass. We could have goal scoring on the other parts of the lawn. Use this building. Don't sell it off.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Gowland. Councillor Wilmot.
Can I say, I remember many years ago that an organisation named Experience Nottinghamshire, but many of you remembered some years ago, in being in charge of the visitors economy and much of the tourism in Nottinghamshire. They invited all the interested partners, which included councils, including Nottinghamshire County Council, Nottingham City Council, and all the districts. The voluntary sector were offered places on the committee, and many other organisations. A strategy was set up, and many good projects were put forward. The problem with it was only the larger projects in the city or Robin Hood initiatives seemed to prosper from the resources, and many areas were left out. And of course, the same old problem occurred. Representatives of many organisations were given jobs to do, and because it clashed with their day job, many projects fell by the wayside, with people not turning up to meetings, with no apologies and no update on the work that they were given. And of course, in due time, the organisation failed and folded. In many ways, it was trying to deliver too many projects together. Now, we do not want that to happen, and there is so much potential out there to be proud of, but we have to get it right. Yes, it is correct that the visitors economy is one of the fastest growing industries in the UK, but there is much untapped potential in the industry. It is wrong to push just the key stakeholders' visitor attractions in Nottinghamshire. In our own area in Ashfield, we have Byron the Poet. I'm glad to hear that it's been put down as one of the major industries major people that could be visited on many occasions. And of course, Ada Lovelace. Both are actually buried in Hucknall Church, St Mary Magdalene Church. And coincidentally, Ada Lovelace is also buried in St Mary Magdalene Church. We've also had Ben Court, the world champion boxer, and many more. Nottinghamshire also has the 400th anniversary, just happened, of the Pilgrim Fathers expedition to America, which started in Retford. Absolutely, in Retford, which many people have never heard of in the situation. And as I say, it started in Retford, and the Pilgrim Trail is there for all to see, and led by William Brewster and William Bradford. Much more work has to be done in promoting the visitors economy all over Nottinghamshire. I do welcome the engagement activities that have taken place, but there's much more untapped heritage and tourism potential in Nottinghamshire that needs to succeed, and it needs help to succeed. Finally, I know I'm running out of time, but if we are successful, it will mean excellent job opportunities. But of course, the jobs the people that the people we're taking, they need the necessary skills. So areas of learning will have to be introduced to enable people to take up these job opportunities when they become available. This project is a massive undertaking. Many have tried and many have failed. So be careful on what you wish for. Now, the final point is a booklet. When you've got all the issues, all the possible tourism attractions and so forth sorted out, a booklet needs to be put out so that people from wide areas can actually look at them and go and see what Nottinghamshire must be proud of. We are proud of everything that's happening, and it's great that Nottinghamshire County Council are taking up this mantle. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilmot. Councillor Zadrotny.
Thank you, Chairman. I warmly welcome this. I think some of the things that were said about coming out of the pandemic and refocusing are really important, actually. As a lot of people go into this cost of living crisis, they're looking more at seeing what's on their doorstep and how they spend locally. And I think it's really important for us to celebrate that and capitalise on that. I'd like to thank Councillor Girling firstly for his comments about our staff at Ashfield District Council. Of course, they are doing an excellent job, and I appreciate the work they're doing together on that, particularly on the planetarium work. We're very delighted with the money that we received this morning. We are disappointed, of course, that the government didn't share our ambition for Hucknall, where, as Councillor Wilmot said, there's lots and lots to celebrate there. But the work we're particularly doing on Milt Waters, on Sky Trail, I know that your team are doing there, and on the conservation zones that we're doing. And I have a number of points to make. There's a lot of good stuff in this, and I appreciate that it's high level at this stage. But there's also a secondary level. I think there's lots that we would all want to celebrate across Nottinghamshire about our history, about our tourism, and how we bring that together into an economic plan. And there's loads of things. Of course, you wouldn't expect me to say anything other than what's in Ashfield. And we've talked about sporting heroes like Larwood. And of course, Ashfield is the place where Lawrence wrote all of his books and set them. Teversall Manor was where Lady Chatterley's Lover was set, where Stanton Hill, where Sons and Lovers was set, where Lord Carnarvon sunk his colliery to pay for his expeditions to unearth Tutankhamun's tombs. I'm sure my colleague will wax lyrical about the benefits of economic regeneration of Cromford Canal would bring. But there is that secondary level, and I've got a couple of points I hope Councillor Gurley might come back to. So, based on those quick points, Keith, I'm interested to know what will be happening to the tourism opportunities on that next level down. Of course, you've got the big stuff that you'll be working on now, but joining the dots with those things, I think is really important. And I mentioned things like Teversall with Lord Carnarvon and with Lawrence, because 10 years ago, I think it might have been in your gap, this county council spent over £1 million renovating the Teversall trails so that people could stay there, see the heritage there, but then cycle or walk all the way through to Sherwood Forest. And there's lots of ways I think we could join those dots. So I'd be interested to see what we do with the next level of work down. And then you said there was, well, the other point then I'd be interested to know in a more broader term, because I've always thought there's a very deep silo between economic regeneration and tourism and heritage. And I think we need to break that silo so that they're seen as one thing. I think the economic benefits of tourism and heritage are clearly outlined in your plan. And I'd like to know what your feeling is, what your ambition is to break that silo so that they can be seen as one thing. And then finally, there was a point about how the priorities are delivered, and I know Councillor Fole mentioned that those targets were set in 2019. Of course, we had the pandemic at that point, and then tourism wasn't possible. But I'm interested to see how you will how you're going to measure on those targets and how you'll bring them back, because I think this is a crucial time and a key opportunity. As I said, at cost of living, people are looking more at what's on their doorstep and how they can spend their pounds locally. And if we can capitalise that in the visitor economy in our county, I think that's a win-win, and you'll have my support. I'd just be interested in how you think you're going to track it and measure it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Zadrotny. Councillor Owen.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I shall be far more parochial, but my ears pricked up when Councillor Girling was speaking, when he mentioned Bennerley Viaduct. Whilst Bennerley Viaduct is not in my division, nevertheless, I'm sure Councillor Girling will want to join me in congratulating Kimberley Town Council, who have had a successful levelling up fund bid of £16.5 million approved, of which a significant part is dedicated towards Bentley Viaduct and the connectivity between Kimberley and Bentley Viaduct. And so, following on from what the leader said, I hope that this council, and Councillor Girling in particular, will work very closely with Kimberley Town Council in order to get things moving, because clearly the money is available. It's got to be spent within a couple of years. So it's always the difficult part, getting the money. The will is there, the ideas are there. We need to get it implemented as quickly as possible. And Kimberley Town Centre, with its array now of cafes and restaurants, would benefit enormously from increased tourism at the Bentley Viaduct. For those that don't know about Bentley Viaduct, it's one of only two, I think, cast iron viaducts in the whole country. It's recently been renovated and is attracting a considerable number of visitors, walkers, cyclists. What we in Kimberley want them to do is to cycle from Bentley, or even walk from Bentley if they're so minded, into the cafes and restaurants of Kimberley. And I hope we shall be able to assist all we can to facilitate that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Pringle.
Thanks, Chairman. Thanks, Councillor Girling, as well. There's no question in this chamber that we're all proud of Nottinghamshire. And it's vitally important that we have a strong, visionary visitor economy. And we're working on this. I can see this, Keith. But there's some things that I've missed that I just need some clarity on, really. The Council's existing economy strategy, a 10-year strategy, to be delivered from 2019 to 2029, which was what we agreed previously. The expected outcomes, which I can't see referenced in here: 5 million additional visitors, 2,900 additional full-time jobs, 240 million additional economic impact, which I think will link in with a lot of what members have said here anyway, and an extra 80 million additional GVA. Just to clarify those targets, because I've not picked them up in here. And then by 2023, the current strategy was to deliver it, and I get the COVID initiative and the impact that had on the visitor strategy. But we did state 742 additional full-time jobs, 57.5 million additional economic impact, direct and indirect, and an extra 18 million additional GVA. I can't see why these have not just been rolled over either, so if you can clarify them for me, I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle. Councillor Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, this is a very important document, and I thank Councillor Girling for recognising Ashfield as part of the visitor economy, because the visitor economy it surely is. I just want to be clear about one thing, right? When you go across Europe and you talk about Nottinghamshire, people remember two things about Nottinghamshire. One's Robin Hood and the other one's Nottingham Forest. So I'll just get that in, because obviously the stadium is going to be expanded for the Premier League club this year, and it's going to be expanded up to 40,000 capacity. So talking about visitor economy, we probably potentially could do something here to help with that, because as Councillor Garland alluded to, it's the pressure on the people in West Bridgford. One of the other things I'd like to bring up as well is the fact that we've just got some more money for the planetarium in Sherwood Observatory, and that is going to enhance visitor attraction to particularly to Mansfield and Ashfield, because the King's Mill Res is on the doorstep as well, and it's all going in the right direction. So we are doing our bit, playing our part in Ashfield to enhance visitor economy. One of the things I'd like to raise his attention to is on theme 2, section E, one little word, and it says canals, and there are two of them, and these are ribbons through our countryside. Walking, angling, tourism, holidays, fishing, you name it, all happens there. The Retford to Grantham Canal is one of them, right? And you can see the pure benefits in Retford where it's being extended up to Shire Oaks. But the Grantham Canal comes right from just down the road there, right through to Grantham, as it's alluded to. And then the Cromford goes through deprived areas as well. And I think the government are missing the window, missing the opportunity to help put funding, some of this levelling up funding, because actually, particularly the Cromford Canal is all in Nottinghamshire postcodes. And they're all high deprivation areas where it passes through Langley Mill, Ironville, Pinkston, and the whole area is in need of levelling up because it's been decimated since the close of the coal industry. So the Grantham is a different kettle of fish, but that would still attract major tourism if it were open. You know, because we're one of the only counties in the country where we've suffered dereliction of our canals and have been like it for 40, 50 years, and there's no government support for them. And I think it would really enhance our economies throughout both areas if some attention were paid to that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Payne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just first of all, I want to say thank you to Joelle Davis. I think in Joelle Davis, the County Council's got an outstanding member of staff. She worked at Gedling previously, and it's not a surprise that the document is presented in the way it is, given that she and her team worked on it. And to commend Keith, obviously, for bringing this forward as well. It's absolutely critical. First of all, let me be parochial in the same way that Councillor Owen was. We make reference to literary history. In Gedling, we're incredibly proud of our artistic history. So let's not forget people like Richard Parkes Bonington, who's an internationally renowned artist, and the outstanding work that people like Arnold Local History Group are doing. These strategies don't just happen because of politicians or strategic leaders at local authorities. They happen because of small organisations within our communities who are driving forward and remembering this history and heritage. And likewise, we're proud of people like Thomas Hawksley, the 19th century civil engineer, who was particularly associated with the early water supply. And then you think about the work of people like Francis Rodrigues, who's trying to renovate Gedling Station, which has really close links and ties with J.R.R. Tolkien in his early years when he was writing the Lord of Rings trilogy. So please remember those smaller, perhaps less prominent examples when this strategy is being driven forward. It would be incredibly remiss of me, Keith, if I didn't say while I was on my feet that these strategies run the risk of being sat on the shelf and not being driven forward if the money doesn't come with them. And let me just say that it is incredibly disappointing from my perspective that we're now in a position 3 years on from when the last government was elected, £8.2 billion dished out in the Towns Fund, in the Future High Streets Fund, and in the Levelling Up Fund, which we're now on round 2 of, announced last night. And every single local authority area within our county and within our city has received funding from those funds, except one, Gedling. And I could shout from the rooftop about how disgraceful it is, how people in Gedling and residents feel that they're being shafted by it, how they feel they're being left out of decisions by government. There was a manifesto commitment by the government to level up every part of the country. The plea I'm making here to the County Council is join us in our calls in the next round of levelling up funding to make sure that part of that funding that is given out is spread more evenly, because otherwise we run the risk that communities in Gedling, it's not just me stood here as a Labour County Councillor, residents in Arnold and Burton Joyce and Mackley and Carlton and in other places as well in villages are going to feel like they are not part of this conversation. And this might not be popular to say in this chamber, but I'm going to say this as well. Our good friends and our colleagues, whatever our agreements or disagreements with them politically might be in the City Council, have taken an absolute body blow this morning in not receiving any funding from the Levelling Up for 2 major projects that they've gone after. And I was saying to an officer as I walked into here this morning, notwithstanding some of the disagreements we might have with the City Council, our economy in the county of Nottinghamshire is intrinsically linked with the economy of the city of Nottingham. And we should not, even if we've got political disagreements with them, be cheering on the fact that they have lost those bids this morning. We should be redoubling our efforts to go back to the government and say we need investment in the city of Nottingham, because if the city of Nottingham isn't growing and isn't prosperous, the county isn't growing, and if the county isn't growing, the city isn't growing. And Robin Hood is a case in point in that. So I could make the party political point, Keith. I could point fingers. I'm not going to do that. I'm simply asking for the County Council in the next round of funding to turn around the fact that at the moment we've had 8.2 billion doled out from the government and Gedling hasn't had a single
penny. We need an MP on their feet rattling their cages about this and shouting about it, and we need the county council to get behind Gedling Borough Council, as it references in this document, to make sure that prosperity is shared out in an even fashion in the way the Prime Minister made the commitment in 2019.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Cole.
Thank you. I think we all know who's going to be the next MP for Gedling anyway. So there we go. I welcome this strategy. There are some excellent things in it. Lord Byron, when we're talking about international strategy, Lord Byron, of course, is an absolute hero in Greece. I don't know how many people know that. Lord Byron fought with the Greeks against the Turks to get Greece its independence, and he is an absolute hero to the Greek people even today. So that's something we can go on. Despite Greece's economic problems, there are still some very wealthy Greeks about. And don't let's forget that after Athens, the next biggest Greek population is in Melbourne, Australia, not Salonika in the north of Greece. So there's a big market there. I have to say, I would ask a direct question, Keith. You can come back to me. That is this something you think this strategy is something that will go to the new elected mayor eventually? Do we know or don't we know? That'd be good. And also, I welcome the funding application being accepted for Kimberley. I have to say we're probably going to have to add another battle on our list in this strategy, the Battle of Eastwood Hilltop, which when I had to tell the leader of Broxtowe Borough Council that Eastwood hadn't been given any levelling up funding last night, I think there's going to be one hell of a battle up in Eastwood. But Kimberley has done really, really well, especially when you consider, well, let's put it like this, a wise man once said, when you're grandstanding, don't make sure you're not standing on a trapdoor. Because I know what happened in this county council when it came to examining Kimberley's bid. I know exactly what happened, and somebody else in this room knows exactly what happened as well. If the press want to come and talk to me, that's fine, but I think you'll find that the Councillor Radulovic at Broxtowe will be mentioning this anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Carlton.
Thank you, Chairman. It probably would be remiss of me not to rise today to speak on this strategy, since I represent the Sherwood Forest Division, one of the most iconic forests in the world, home of Robin Hood, Maid Marian, even where they got married. That said, I hope in the strategy that we don't also get blindsided by Robin and Marian and the associated story. I appreciate that there has been Hollywood films quite clearly as a key anchor, but we also have in our area fantastic history stemming in Clipston, one of the homes to one of the largest World War camps in World War One. We also know that people come to the area for the significant mining heritage that's associated with the former coalfield areas. King John's Palace down in King's Clipston, Thingy Howe in Berklands Wood over in Sherwood Forest, a Viking meeting place. No microphones, didn't need this sort of thing, but they also listened to each other. That said, the other one I was actually going to mention was Daniel Day-Lewis. We all know who he is, Hollywood actor, albeit retired. His grandfather was a village vicar in Edwinstowe. His father was born in Edwinstowe. He went on to be a poet laureate. So we have some very significant hidden history and cultures to share. That said, turning to page 17 of the strategy, where it mentions accommodation. For about 10 years, I lived in Buxton with the University of Derby, and through some of my works and studies there, I got to work with an organisation called Vision Buxton. That was a collective organisation made up of businesses, independent business predominantly, with a collective ambition of bringing everyone together with a common purpose of increasing tourism and visitors into the Buxton locality. Lots of money was raised, lots of money was spent on advertising. Over the coming years, visitor numbers, but in approximately year 3, visitor numbers actually fell. It wasn't because Buxton and the High Peak area wasn't a significant destination. because when the studies were looked into, it was actually down to a shortage of beds. Something very small but also crucial. So I hope within the underpinning action plan, and I appreciate that page 17 makes reference to stimulating funding investment around this, but certainly we know the longer that people stay in a locality, the more money that they spend as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carlton. Councillor Neil Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to respond, well, support the strategy, but respond briefly to Councillor Garland as well. She quite rightly listed the sports areas locally here in Rushcliffe, but want to also fly the flag for Nottingham Rugby as well as football and cricket. Now, this is all part of attracting visitors, and I fully appreciate earlier petition submission. Yes, there are challenges, and we do, and we will be, and we do already work with the police and the clubs regarding match day parking. So I'm not going to pretend that's not a challenge, but having all those venues does have the benefit of bringing vital business to the local economies, whether it be the hospitality, venues, taxis, hotels, etc. All part of the vital local economy. So this is very much to be welcomed. And I do also appreciate Councillor Martin's comments about the Grantham Canal. He's quite right. And that is a very important leisure corridor. And we are very much trying to find a way of restoring it. And if we can get that back to navigation, is absolutely right. That will be another great tourist opportunity. So we're on the case, I think, is the point to mention. So very much I do support the visitor economy. Just before I sit down, Chairman, I just wanted to ask you about your notice about when lunch was going to be taken. I don't know if there's a dotted line of a time zone down the middle of the chamber, but according to that clock, those people on that side of the chamber should have been at lunch 20 minutes ago. Whereas we've got to wait another 40 minutes. So I just wondered, could we actually go for lunch now according to that clock and come back according to that clock? Thank you, Chairman.
It's like school dinners, 2 sittings. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor John Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Another few bits about Gadlin. That is Cromwell assembling his troops on Mapley Top. The start of Luddites and all the battles that came from that was in Daybrook. The framework knitters, which spread across Calverton and Lamley and all the places like that. So there's lots of history. Very, very interesting when people look into it. Disappointed. I'm supporting, the county council's ambition. Very disappointed, like my colleague Michael here, about the levelling up. I don't know what we do or what we've done wrong, or something like that. But we do need to, there'll be some snide remark, no doubt, in Parliament. We haven't done something right, but it is continuous and it's got a pattern there that's unfair on the people of Gedling. We've done well because we did, we've had a lovely new road built with the help of the county council, etc. We've got all those types of things, but it seems this time this is grossly unfair now. And it does seem, when you look at it, when I heard it on the radio today, I know there's been some problems in the city, but they could have had some money towards enhancing that city. And Michael is correct. The city is part of that engine that makes the economy work. I just look at this, Keith, and would say it's a very broad ambition. How are you going to move this forward? One is I'd like to know where the funding is coming from. Now, it might be under devolution, and we've supported devolution across the chamber and across the county. It might be in that way, but I think we now need to tighten up and get some direction. I forgot his name now. John Wilmot, Councillor Wilmot, had said there about looking at and narrowing it down. And I think we do need to narrow it down. We need to look at 3 or 4 or 5 items that we can be absolutely excellent. Because I think the way it is at the moment, wishing to do it all, Chris uses this a lot. It's a nice to have list, isn't it, Chris? And reality, can we do it? And I think we should do that. We should look at it sensibly, sit down, and make sure that we're driving it now. We've had COVID, we've had all sorts of other things that bother us. But we need to sit down and say, we'll do that. We've got a good offer in Nottinghamshire. and when we join with Derbyshire as well, there'll be an extra offer there. So supporting it, frustration from our side. We'll go away today, Michael and I, and we'll kick the skirting board and say, you know, damn the government and the Tories are this, that, and the other, and we'll come back and we'll try and do what we can do in Gedling. But it's very difficult with that initial funding, and hopefully, when the future MP for Gedling is sat in front, is there will be some serious lobbying that goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, if you're looking at page 3 of the strategy, I think it just goes to show how much we should be welcoming this strategy. One of the key points actually is several other county council plans will touch on or interconnect with a refresh strategy, including levelling up. Now, you may have heard, but Worksop did receive £80 million from the Levelling Up Fund, and that will mean a £20 million project that will actually go towards opening up the Chesterfield Canal, which Councillor Martin helpfully touched upon. Our canals, they are very, very useful actually getting people together, and actually when it comes to levelling up, increasing tourism, increasing investment, and actually increasing business confidence, it goes a very, very long way. So I just say I very much welcome this strategy. A lot of collaboration has been done about it, and I think in Nottinghamshire, I think we're going in the right direction when it comes to the visitor economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Adams.
He did. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. Yeah, so I was very disappointed to hear this morning about Gedling's missed levelling up bid as well. I think what's incredibly interesting about the Gedling situation is that we've had much change over the years, in the last 12 years. We've had a change of MP from red to blue. It started off the other way around, might add. We've had a county council seat change from red to blue, and some the other way. The only thing that has remained the same throughout all of this has been the leadership at Gedling. And we continue to miss bits. The responsibility for that missed bid, therefore, in my opinion, lies purely and squarely with that leadership, although diversions to say otherwise may exist. We heard a second ago that the MP should change and the MP should be a different person. The MP today in the chamber has raised the issue of the missed bid with the minister who's responsible for levelling up. The MP in question has asked for a meeting urgently to discuss the missed levelling up bid. The MP got extra help in because, and I quote imminently, that the bid was unsuccessful previously. Technology, thanks Keith. Gedling Borough Council's first round bid was described by government officials as disparate and lacking a coherent vision. The second round bid, in the words of our MP, appeared to be stronger, but it is clearly not robust enough to get it over the line. So my recommendation to those complainers today, those skirting board kickers, would be to get in contact with the councils that have seen success in their levelling up bids and ask for some help, ask for some mentoring in order to make their own bids successful. Because Gedling is a fantastic place, and I did hear a comment from Councillor Payne about J.R.R. Tolkien. In fact, from my own county council pot, I put some money towards a blue plaque that now stands on the station in Gedling Borough, which reminds us of the beginning of the writing of the poem that led and preceded to the Lord of the Rings writing. It's an incredibly proud thing, I think, for Gedling. It's something we should all be proud of. Phoenix Farm, in fact, was where his aunt lived.
And I think this is where Gedling really needs to put its time. It needs to put its effort into areas of historic reference. It needs to look all around Gedling. Maybe going for £50 million for Arnold Town Centre would have been better. And if we'd have looked at the whole of Gedling, trying to deal with a lot of Gedling's history across Gedling itself, because Gedling across Gedling is important, not just the town of Arnold. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. I hadn't realised that hobbits had been hatched in Edinburgh. Councillor John Cotty.
Thank you, Chairman. We've had a good lengthy debate up to now. I'm going to stick to a short speech because I'm just going to talk about the fact that this strategy, which I've gone through with Keith and his officers have supported me because it impacts on my portfolio. So we've got, as you know, in the north of the county, assets which have never really been dealt with in the past with the strategy that we had probably before. And that's my view. And we've got the places like the Sherwood Forest, Welbeck, Duke of Portland, and it goes on from what people have been saying. But I'm appreciative of the staff who've been doing this for the County Council and working with Keith, for them keeping me on board with what's been going off. And I'm happy to work with Keith and his team going forward. We've got a cultural strategy that sits at the side of this, which is going to have to be looked at and reviewed as we go forward, of which I'm keen to work with them on doing. I would point to number 5 on the points on the first page of the strategy. I think that we did miss out in the past of not going into some of the depth with districts and boroughs, and also we also did forums, etc. Or I didn't, Keith and his team did, but I think that we missed out on a lot of that. And yes, we can do better and we should do better to get engaged with more and more people, but it is down to some of them to come to us as well. So I'm happy to work with this strategy, and I'm pleased to hear what I've heard from the other side and other councillors within this chamber. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. Councillor Henshaw.
Thank you, Chair, for bringing me in. I think it'd be a bit crass of us on this side not to support this, because at the end of the day, we all want what's best for Nottinghamshire and our own individual areas. Each of us can relate to a story that there is a particular place or a particular person that lived there that should be noted and celebrated. In Mansfield, I don't know whether it's common knowledge, it was the birthplace of the Quaker religion, and George Fox started a lot of his ministries off in Mansfield. And also down Rock Valley, Ben, you know, where they're trying to do that new development, that was one of the areas where the first circular saw in the world was invented. So, you know, we have a rich tapestry in and around Mansfield. Going on to the issue on Gedling, obviously I'm not a Gedling councillor, but I think it was an act of crass party political bias why Gedling didn't get any money. Correct. But in saying that, we're in a position here where we've got to work together and come together to develop a strategy to bring people into the Nottinghamshire area. Somebody mentioned the industrial heritage. I might be one of the only people in this room that actually worked at Clipston Colliery, and it would be a great facility to develop that whole area. I know it's in Newark and Sherwood. That whole area around the headstocks, which are the largest headstocks in Europe, and Clipston had one of the deepest shafts, 1,006 yards to the pit bottom. And I remember as a young apprentice climbing up to the top of the headstocks without any safety gear on to put a 1,000-watt light bulb in the lights, the floodlights that shined on the pit yard. So I have a great interest in that to develop. I always find it also strange that we weigh very heavily on our tourist strategy in relation to Robin Hood. who may well not have come from Nottinghamshire, and he may well have come from he may well have come from Barnsdale Forest, which is in South Yorkshire. But I'll let the historians debate that. But basing our tourist economy on a rogue and a vagabond, but perhaps we can say he's one of the first socialists because he wanted to take from the rich to give to the poor. So therefore, let's concentrate on projecting the myth. Yeah, I know the myth of Robin Hood. Ashfield. I can see the Sherwood astronomical or the dome of the telescope from my back garden, and I'm highly delighted and pleased that there's been money given to them to develop the observatory. Oh no, sorry, Chair. I know. Yeah, I'm really pleased that the Sherwood Astronomical Society is getting some money to develop that whole facility, because as an amateur astronomer myself, I think we ought to go further, Keith, and look at somewhere in the county to become a dark sky area where we can actually encourage astronomers. They go all over. I mean, we go up to Northumberland and to various other places where the skies are dark, and it brings people in. Amateur astronomers come from all over. If there's an area in Nottinghamshire that we can designate as a dark sky area, I think it would be a brilliant thing and a good step forward. So if you'd look at that, anyway, I'll end with that because my technology keeps breaking down. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw, for your Norman Collier impression. Yes, Councillor Creamer.
Oh, thank you, thank you, Chair. Just to sort of build on the connections with with Tolkien, when they actually wrote that, the actual Sodor was actually supposed to be based, apparently, on Carlton. And the reason for that was Carlton was full of brickworks at the time. It was an extremely smoky area. I actually live in a place called the Brickyard because it was a brickyard. Dug out. It's part of the reason for what's many of the hills in Carlton is because they were ex-quarries. There's many of them, etc. So on that one, missing out a bit, we could actually try and expand on that. We do have, not only did he live here, but part of his work is apparently based on my patch and Errol's patch, Carlton. And when it comes to actually pushing the area of Carlton, Arnold, Gedling as a whole, the district council has actually done a brilliant job over the last few years, and cross-party to some extent, believe it or not, from what you can hear and hear, actually getting things done. We've got the Arnold Market done, which brings in visitors from the city and to attract stuff. And we've spent millions of our own money, the district council, without a penny from government. So it actually riles me quite a bit when you get the diatribe about why we're not getting money. It is a pure political decision, nothing else. We have expanded. We have done massive for Arnold and for Carlton. And to actually be insulted this way, not a penny, nothing. When we need that money for the economy, we are on the edge of the city, the same as Beeston, the same as other places. And as has already been said, when the city prospers, we prosper. And particularly we're shopping and crossing each other's boundaries. You can't tell where the boundaries are. I live 150 metres from the boundary of the city. This is how we're interlinked. My doctor's is in the city, not in the county. We live together, we work together, and we prosper together, or we fall together. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Creamer. Councillor Camilleri.
There we are, that's it. How we go? Yeah. A bit of rest stop to go about Mansfield, my place where I'm born, come from. You do tend to overlook. We don't talk about the Stags very much, do we, really? It's all about Nottingham Forest and Notts County. Mansfield Town has the oldest football ground in the world. The oldest one. Do you know that, Eric? You've got the oldest club, we've got the oldest football ground. We've also got the oldest working railway in Mansfield, which celebrated its 200th anniversary in 2019. So there's lots of going off in Mansfield, and like Paul said, circular saw. If you think about that for 1 minute, just get off it. Think how important that was to the world when the invented the circular saw. How it made industry easy to work, cut wood, do things, massive. And I'm very proud of us. The Quakers made America what it is today. They went out there, Philadelphia, you name it, all Quakers, all from our part of the world. Fantastic. Nottinghamshire, top county. And I'm just going to say something about the Levelling Up Fund. Well, I'm very lucky in Mansfield because we've got £20 million, which is extremely good. It's going to do the old Beals Co-op site up. It's an Art Deco building. We're going to preserve that. We're going to rejuvenate the town. We're going to make the town more active. And actually, Ashfield have had a lot of money from the government, and so has Bassetlaw, the 3 poorest districts in Nottinghamshire, who really need it the most, because we've got the most deprived kids. We've got the biggest adult care problem, the biggest child care problem. We've got that problem. That's fact. You know that, Michael. Sorry for pointing. You know that, Michael. That's true. And we need the money. And I would like to thank somebody for this. I'd like to thank our MP, our local MP, for the work that he's done, to get this through. And also, hold on. And also the work he does as the Notts leader of the council. The work that he puts in to make this council work is incredible. And what he does here, hold it. You've had your say. It might go off like Paul's. I'm very proud of what the Conservatives have done, and I think we're going to go on to move and do better things. This rejuvenation of Mansfield is incredible for us. It'll make our town centre better. And I'd just like to thank Ben and the team for doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Turner.
Thank you. And I echo everything that Councillor Camilleri has said. Bassetlaw has just been successful with their bid. They failed with the first bid, but they were successful with the second bid. And I believe that the MPs had a lot to do with that as well. The point I want to make, Councillor Girling, is that as a proud Worksoppian, born and bred, the links between the north of the county and Nottingham itself are quite tenuous. We relate ourselves more to South Yorkshire, to Sheffield, to Doncaster, Chesterfield, even Mansfield. Sorry, Andre, but even Mansfield, yeah. So, what I'm saying, can we please look at that and try and let's strengthen the links between the north of the county and Bassetlaw and the city? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. I don't think any of the members have. Before I call, no. Before I call on Reg, I'd just like to say it's been a wonderful debate to hear, and I think Councillor Pringle said all members in this chamber are very proud of Nottinghamshire, and also the regions they represent. And it's very poignant today that everybody's spoken very proudly of the areas they come from and the people they represent. And I think it's really good that we're talking about this today. It's a great strategy and well presented for keep. But anyway, Reg, would you like to come back as a second of the motion?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not going to say very much more. It is a draft strategy, and of course there's lots of input coming from all directions around the chamber. We'll wait to see how they come together, and those that speak loud here, they really need to speak loud back into the draft strategy so that we can hear it and it can be included in the future strategy that comes forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Dare. Councillor Girling. Sorry. I was going to say Keith, so I didn't think of soon. Councillor Girling would like to sum up, please. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for their input, and it's quite clear to me the passion that our councillors have for Nottinghamshire. I'd also like to thank the Newark and Sherwood council mainly for not saying much, because if they'd have started saying something, it'd have gone on for at least 5 or 6 hours because of all the attractions that are in Newark and Sherwood. Before I go on to go through some of the points, I've got to make one, and I'm a bit disappointed to have to make this, to be fair, from some of the comments that's come to me. Councillor Henshaw, if Robin Hood was Yorkshire, he would have stolen from the rich and kept it. Right? It's most certainly Nottinghamshire. So keep the Yorkshire lot out. Yeah, it's definitely Nottinghamshire. Now, there's obviously lots of things in here, and I could be going for an hour going through it all. But there's some specific questions, so I'll try and capture those. So if I miss them, it's not deliberate, because I really do appreciate the feedback that we've had, and I know Joelle, who's up there, has been taking notes so that we can look at some of the points that you made. I am a bit disappointed when people have written what they're going to say here and haven't actually listened to what I said at the start, because if they had, they'd have known that I mentioned Byron, they'd have known actually that I said in terms of detail, it's the action plan beneath this that's going to deliver. They'd also remember the fact that I said this is draft. Yeah, so all the things like what we're going to achieve, what the targets are, we're not really knowing that yet until we've finished it, and we can then say this is what we anticipate that it's going to bring in terms of our economy, because we're really taking seriously what the districts and boroughs, yourselves, the businesses are saying to us. I don't want to get into the Gedling not getting money or getting money thing, but you're not the only ones not to have had money, so I'm just correcting you there, because Rushcliffe hasn't had anything either. So you're not the only one, Rushcliffe is. And just to make a point as well, before the levelling up agenda, so well before the levelling up agenda, Newark and Sherwood, and I was on economic development at the time, were doing pretty much everything that's in the strategy through their own money, as somebody said over there. Yeah, they were putting this all together, and what they did, they engaged in 3 different areas, because it's quite diverse, Newark and Sherwood. Yeah, with 3 different areas, with the businesses in those areas, small business and big businesses in those areas that deliver tourism attractions. So it can be done. Yeah, this money will enhance it and make things better. Also, I want to make it very clear, yeah, it's not for this council to highlight everything in your district and borough. That's what the districts and boroughs are doing. We're here to support you doing that. Yeah, this strategy is all about supporting and working with districts and boroughs to make it an overall strategy that's going to bring people in. There's been some criticism about mentioning Nottingham, that football club over there that's red. No, not really, right? But and Sherwood Forest. But like it or not, they are global brands. No matter where you go in the world, if you say Sherwood Forest, they will know Robin Hood. They'll know it anywhere. And if you say not that red club over there, they'll know it's Nottingham. Yeah, they know where it is. So it would be remiss of us not to use those global brands. Yeah, all the other stuff, all the more, these stories are absolutely amazing. I've learned a lot today. Yeah, and that's all part of the journey as well. And it's about making sure that we get all that out. So I'm really, really impressed with some of the things that have been put together on that. Silos. Absolutely not. There will be no silo between economic development and the economy, visitor economy. Joelle is absolutely on it. Yeah, she won't let. I wouldn't let it, and I wouldn't have to tell her not to let it, because we know how the visitor economy works, and it's got to be in terms of the regeneration as well. It's got to, or it won't work. It's also got to be in line with our inward investment strategy, which Joelle's working on at the moment, and that's going to be fed into it all. So it's all going to be part of a bigger picture. So you'll get your detail, yeah, but it's not just in one document, it's in several documents, which are all leading in to make sure that people come to this county, whether it's to be work and improve our economy that way, or just to visit and spend loads and loads of money. Because we know if they come in for a day, yeah, the average spend is very low. If you spend the night here, it shoots up, and that's what we've got to do. So we've got to not be parochial. We all got our lovely places, but actually, if we can say, actually, you can spend 2 days in Nottingham, in Newark, 2 days in Mansfield, 2 days in Ashfield. They're here for 2 weeks. That's an amazing amount of money coming into this county, and that's what we should be trying to aim for. I don't think there's any specific questions I've missed now, if anybody wants to quickly say, but you be minded about Robin Hood. He's not looking, Mr. Henshaw. You just be blooming minded. And yes, absolutely, linking Bassett Law in with the rest of Nottinghamshire. That's what we're working on. Luckily, I know Joelle used to work at Gedlin. Sure, she used to work in Bassett Law. I'm a good poacher, aren't I? There you go. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Gurning. Yeah, it's very evident that we are very, very proud of Nottingham's got an awful lot to offer now and in the future. I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? I think that's fairly unanimous. Nobody's the contrary. Thank you very much, members. Agenda item 8, executive report, key issues and activities. As set out in the Constitution, the leader has provided an executive report. The leader will move the receipt of the report for noting and make a short statement introducing it. The report will be seconded by the deputy leader, who will do so without speaking to it. No other member may speak on this item and no amendment can be tabled. I call upon Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Chairman. I enjoyed that conversation. Really positive start to the day. Speaking to the executive report and the activities, things we've been up to over the course of the last month or so, obviously been a busy one. I want to tick through a number of the things in the report and perhaps add a bit of colour to them. And then I'll come on to the biggest thing that's occupied our time over the recent months, which of course been the budget conversation and the work we've been doing on that. So from the report, the devolution consultation closed a week or so ago, and we are now looking ahead with that feedback at how we proceed, at how we take forward those priorities and what this organisation, this combined authority, looks like as we move into the summer and the autumn, working with district and borough partners and other partners, stakeholders from around both counties on that. Indeed, we'll be meeting district and borough partners next week to get into the next stages of conversation around that. In the meantime, I've been representing the county as well as a member of parliament in some national conversation around devolution, including recent conferences with the Westminster Policy Forum and Institute for Government alongside Labour Mayor of North of Tyne, Jamie Driscoll. And it's interesting that just as here in Nottinghamshire we've managed to find a kind of cross-party relative consensus on the benefits or opportunities of this. Similarly, the Labour Mayor from the North of Tyne and I are very much on the same page in terms of what we hope to deliver and the way forward. So that is really positive. Spent a lot of time in recent weeks, as you might imagine, on issues related to health and care, huge in the national spotlight as well as significant local pressures. The positive news is that our services held up well over Christmas. I don't think there are any care packages handed back to the County Council over the Christmas break, which is a huge positive thing and step forward for us. We've been working with partners again, and these are important conversations because as the national situation is highlighted, it's not just a care issue or a hospital issue or a primary care issue, it's something, and no doubt we'll get to it in the motion later, that reaches across the whole of that process and throughout the systems and structures around our health and care services. So very important that we work with partners. I know officers are meeting regularly with partners like our hospitals, like primary care and care providers, and been fortunate enough to be able to take our Director of Social Care and some of those other partners from NUH and the integrated care system to meet with ministers on several occasions actually in the last couple of weeks, which hopefully has been helpful in terms of putting our views on this across and some of the policy and changes that we would like to see across. Good news, I think, we're to announce today we've received, I think, our allocation of just over £4 million from the discharge fund that was announced a few weeks ago, which hopefully will be helpful in that space as well. The report mentions the Youth Investment Fund. We've got a question on that a little bit later, but that's something positive I'd like to highlight and hopefully some investment in some of the premise from our budget that we want to improve and enhance some of our community assets and community-based services. We'll come on to that a little bit later. And further updates from the report, it mentions the Bus Service Improvement Fund. We've heard back from the Minister. We've got a meeting to discuss what flexibility might be possible, as I've mentioned before, around our transport funding and whether we can improve on-demand services in particular. So I look forward to meeting the Minister along with Councillor Clark to have that conversation. Obviously, as was highlighted in a lengthy way earlier on, we've had a lot of conversations recently about roads, and I know, again, Councillor Clark has got questions on this later. I don't want to dwell on it, but we spent a lot of time in capacity in recent weeks talking to partners, talking to Via, and trying to talk to residents and put across the challenges that we face. The RAC in the last few weeks have published their data that explains that the last 3 weeks of appalling weather has been the worst possible situation in terms of road condition and damage. And we've been seeking to try and mitigate that, working, as I say, with Via and partners. But as was highlighted earlier, when you do have significant damage across the area, you can't do high quality resurfacing repairs everywhere at the same time. There is only limited capacity in that system, and that's just frustrating for us as it is for everybody, because prior to Christmas we'd got to a really good place where we'd talked about the stats here in the review and in Cabinet, 60% reduction in Via fits, doubling the amount of high quality resurfacing complaints had come down, and unfortunately the weather has ripped chunks out of that in the last few weeks, and first to hold our hands up and accept that. I think, as the RAC highlight, that is a national problem, but it's one that we are very keen to tackle and to get back to that positive step forward in terms of high quality work. So we look forward to being able to do that in the coming weeks. HS2 Executive Board, again, in the report, mentions updates and moving forward on plans across the growth area, Towton, Ratcliffe, and look forward to receiving detailed reports and plans on that in the coming weeks. I know there's been a great deal of progress behind the scenes on that, so something positive coming forward soon. And finally, the biggest thing that I wanted to raise, I mentioned earlier, the budget. We spent a lot of time and effort in recent months going through what I think is the most robust budget process we've had internally, certainly in my experience of being here at the County Council. It's a hugely important thing looking forward to next year. I think we're in a relatively good place in terms of being able to look at the figures that are now available to all members and to say that over the coming years we're in a sustainable position. That's certainly not true of all councils, and we've been able to do that in such a way that allows us to both avoid the maximum council tax levels, but also to be able to make sure we're not cutting frontline services, and we're actually committed to that, enhancing and protecting and improving some of the core services in our most disadvantaged communities, as we'll touch on a little bit later in the question. So I think that's really, really positive. And as I say, when we look around the country and as other people come out with their budgets in the coming months, not least just down the road here in the city, you see some of the challenges that other areas are facing. And it's testament to the hard work of officers and to colleagues, particularly in Cabinet over recent months. We've gone through a really robust process, as I've said, that we've been able to come out with a solution and a budget that I think ticks many of the right boxes in some really, really difficult economic circumstances. So I'm very grateful for that work. As for the rest of it, Mr. Chairman, there are a number of questions that cover topics from my report a little bit later on, so I know that I'll come back to these subjects, but I think that's all from me at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Lawton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I formally second the motion and say how disappointed I am that the next agenda item, which is questions to the Chairman of the Fire Authority, there aren't any. I was looking forward to some. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Lawton. That's to note the report and has been received by the Chamber. Thank you. As Councillor Lawton says, there are no questions for the Nottingham City Fire Authority. And I think before we start questions to the Leader and Cabinet members, we will adjourn for lunch for 1 hour. Thank you. Just remember that in the foyer is the Assembly Hall, is the suicide prevention team. If people would like to just have a look at it. Thank you.